Oh hey, don't mind me, I'm just participating in some light censorship. I have a sensitive and impressionable mind, I can't let myself be corrupted by the horrors of the real world. Oh my god, is that a beer?
Back in the old days, video games were in a sort of Wild West. While the movie industry had its own ratings board to keep things in line, nothing of the sort existed for the burgeoning video game industry. Which is how we ended up with games like Custer's Revenge on the Atari 2600, with gameplay that mainly consists of Games like this caused a bit of a moral panic, especially since video games were still very new. Shocked parents saw this and thought, my god, is that what all video games are like? Here little Timmy, play with these cigarettes instead. Sex, alcohol, excessive violence, sex, tobacco and drug use, sex, even innocuous religious references like crosses were completely off the table. But what about sex? For a while, this satisfied the mob of angry parents, but led to the idea that Nintendo games and video games in general were just for little kids, a reputation that they've struggled to shake off to this day. Can you believe that the company that thought this was too sexy also published Bayonetta 3? Yeah, I can't either. Nintendo wasted no time punching Sega while they were down, with Howard Lincoln testifying that Night Trap would never appear on a Nintendo console.
That son of a bitch lied to us!
Ranging from EC for early childhood, K to A for kids to adults, T for teen, M for mature, and AO for that's just straight up porn. Later on, the EC rating was retired and K to A was replaced with E for everyone, and in 2005, the E10 Plus rating was introduced because Donkey Kong Jungle Beat was just too much for 9-year-olds. Similarly, most major retailers would ask for ID when selling an M-rated game and would refuse to stock unrated or AO-rated games because as a society, we're not ready to let people get their rocks off at Walmart. All of this meant that parents had plenty of opportunity to stay informed about the kind of content their kids were consuming, and their kids had plenty of age-appropriate games to enjoy. Everyone was happy and there was no need to threaten anyone with a lawsuit.
Yeah, I love lying.
Yeah, a lot of parents just kind of ignored the ESRB ratings and kept buying the Calls of Duty and the Grand Theft Auto for their kids anyway. There was a lingering sentiment from the heyday of Nintendo censorship that all video games are for children, and no matter how many "this game's about killing" and f***ing warnings they put on the box, some people just wouldn't listen. Congressman Stephen Upton said that Rockstar tried to deliver violent and pornographic material to our kids. It's an M-rated game. It wasn't supposed to be sold to kids in the first place. The only reason kids were playing it is because their parents didn't bother to pay attention to any of the attempts to warn them. We demand justice. How dare you show such disgusting content to our kids, cried the mob. But it's already an M-rated game, Rockstar responded. And you're the ones who bought it for your kids in the first place. Why didn't you check the content descriptors to make sure it was appropriate for your kids before you bought it, they asked. Fuck you, cried the mob. The ESRB launched an investigation and ended up re-rating San Andreas as AO, resulting in it being pulled from retail shelves. If you have a black label copy of GTA San Andreas, congratulations, you're in possession of contraband. Hell, even Nintendo had to go back and forth with Japan's rating board Zero over Smash Bros. For Wii U. They thought Palutena's model was too sexually provocative, and really, how are you going to say Palutena's too sexy in a game that also features Luigi?
And hey, speaking of censorship, I'm about to find out what rating Connor's Game Room got. I've been censoring all day, I hope it's worth it. Rated AO for sexual content. Off-screen portions of the main character are completely nude. I knew I forgot something.
As we get older, it gets harder to dedicate that limited time to hobbies like video games between other responsibilities, but I still try to fit it in where I can. All rise. Okay, so there's only like a million billion left to go. Yeah, I can't keep this up. Being a gamer's been fun and all, but I think it's give up o'clock. Seems like it's time for a new hobby. I hear knitting's in season. As games got more and more complex though, they started to get packed with more and more content. Not only did you have stories that took hours just to sit through, but for the completionists you had mini-games to get high scores in, collectibles to track down, secret endings to unlock, and with the explosion in popularity of the open world genre, games that encourage you to just fuck off and do whatever you want no matter what piles up in the meantime. I love video games, but there's definitely been times where I've held off on starting a new one because I felt like I'd be too busy to give it the time it deserves, or abandoned a game I was really enjoying because it had just been so long since I had the time to sit sit down with it that when I finally do, I've completely forgotten what I was doing last time. So instead it gets added to the, yeah, I'll get around to those pile, which just keeps growing bigger and bigger until suddenly it starts to look like a full-time job just to put a dent in it. It's tough to divvy up your mental bandwidth between all the demands of adulthood, your social life, your hobbies, all while still making time to finish all these games and make a monthly YouTube show where you talk about them for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Maybe I should pivot to makeup tutorials. Oh hey, don't mind me, I'm just you from the future. Oh sweet, hey, what's the future like? It's not bad, though climate change has rendered most of the earth uninhabitable, so we all had to move to Nineveh. Oh. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. Oh, and gas prices went up. Fuck! Having a backlog shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. It just means you have a bunch of games ready to go whenever you're in the right headspace to start them. That way, the next time there's a rainy day, you can say, you know what? I'm ready to find out what the deal is with this Shin Megami Tensei thing. It stabbed me. Oh hey, don't mind me, I'm just running some numbers. The Nintendo Switch 2 comes out in just under 2 months, and according to this self-portrait I drew, I'm broke! I don't understand how this happened. I followed my budget plan to a T. Yeah, I don't think I can cut anything here. I guess I'll have to look around and see if I can sell some stuff. Oh, I can't wait to play Donkey Kong. Mario Kart 8 is already really good, but it is over 10 years old at this point. It's wild that the best-selling Switch game of all time is a Wii U port, and it's even crazier that the Switch is the first Nintendo console since the Virtual Boy to not get its own Mario Kart game. Isn't that nice? You finally have something in common. Not sure how I feel about DK wearing pants though. Makes the last 30 years of nudity look a little bit more questionable. They must have forced him into an HR meeting or something. And then we have a brand new IP, Drag X Drive. Drag Cross Drive? Drag Multiplied by Drive? I don't know. This one's giving me some real ARMS vibes. Y'all remember ARMS? No, the Nintendo Switch game. Still no? When the trailer started, the music that was playing and the hand gestures made it look like we were going to be getting some kind of like DJ Hero style rhythm game, so I was surprised when it turned out to be a wheelchair basketball game. This makes a ton of sense though. I don't think I could come up with a better game to play with 2 mice. I saw how excited people were in the chat to see a whole 5 seconds of Silksong footage, and my god, a brand new FromSoft IP exclusive to the Switch 2? The one guy who saw that coming must be feeling pretty good right now. Hello and welcome back to What the Fuck is Wrong with the GameCube, where in order to stay relevant, we've come up with a brand new segment. How much does that thing cost? No, it's not like The Price is Right. Stop emailing us. And finally, Switch 2 Welcome Tour. How much does that thing cost? Surely that one's free, right? $10, fuckhead. What the fuck? What the? Oh no. What the fuck? Mario Party's $80 now. Shit for brains. 450 USD for the console, 70 USD for games, with Mario Kart World breaking the 80 USD barrier. I mean, up here in Canada, the console alone is a whopping 630 Canadian bucks. Well, that's more than a beaver ride to Moose Jaw, eh? What's really disheartening though is the price of the games themselves. Nintendo being the first to break through that 80 USD ceiling when they only just broke 70 2 years ago is rough. And for Mario Kart, yeah, I mean it looks good, but it's Mario Kart. There's only so much you can do to justify charging that much for Italians in carts. Oh, but you can play as a cow in this one. Well, shit, I'd pay $180. I like collecting physical video games, but that doesn't mean I haven't seen the writing on the wall. I still have some level of excitement for the Switch 2, but I think I'll hold off until things settle down before I really get into it. It's not like I'm hurting for games to play right now anyway. Hell, in all the commotion, I almost forgot that we just got a bunch of announcements on the Switch 1, like a new Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life. And besides, I think I have a plan to raise money for the Switch 2. And the house takes all from the dumbass who bet everything on black. Has this ever happened to you? I'm perturbed. If so, then I've got a fantastic deal for you. Hi, don't mind me, I'm just an infomercial presenter type, and I'm here to present to you Not Giving a Fuck. With Not Giving a Fuck, those little annoyances will turn into this. I'm emotionally suppressed. But don't take our word for it, listen to these testimonials from real customers. I didn't care enough to write a testimonial. This makes me feel no negative emotions. Did you say something? And for only $19.99, you too can not give a fuck. Don't wait. Order today.
Not Giving a Fuck is a registered trademark and copyright. Not Giving a Fuck is patented in the US, Canada, Mexico, EU, and patent pending in Brazil. Not Giving a Fuck should not be used by men, women, children, dogs, cats, or mice. Please consult your doctor or priest before use. Not Giving a Fuck is currently engaged in ongoing litigation with Who Gives a Shit Incorporated. We are legally required to offer financial compensation to users of Not Giving a Fuck located in the state of Utah. Not Giving a Fuck should not be used after midnight. Please consult your doctor or priest before. I already said that one. Not Giving a Fuck may contain trace amounts of peanuts.
Well, that works so well that I don't even care that I got ripped off. And I think I'm finally numb enough to play Watch Dogs Legion.
Everyone has those little things that just set them off, like when people chew gum too loud or when they get shot.
What the hell, man?
But then some games will just force you to rely on autosaves only, and they won't even give you the option to save manually. You're just expected to trust that you've been taken care of. What's worse is when you try to quit some of those games and they'll warn you that any unsaved data will be lost. What the hell do you want me to do about it? It's like they're holding your data hostage. This is thankfully becoming less common, but for a while a lot of games would make you quit to the main menu, wait for the main menu to load, then finally let you quit to desktop. The Dark Souls games were extra bad for this, since once you got to the main menu, it would go through the whole song and dance of reconnecting to the server before it would let you quit. And if you gave up and Alt F4'd your way out of there, it would yell at you the next time you booted it up. At least Elden Ring added in a quit to desktop option post-launch, but all the other Souls games on PC still make you trudge your way back to the main menu. Back on the PS2, pretty much every 3D third-person game mapped jumping to the X button. The X button is the jump button. The button for jumping is the X button. If you need to jump, press the X button. Unless you're playing Kingdom Hearts where it's circle. Souls-likes, games that are very obviously drawing heavy inspiration from Dark Souls. And yet so many of them just switch up the controls for no reason. Why? Dark Souls has basically perfected the control scheme for the genre. They invented the genre. Sure, you have to use this weird claw grip to sprint while moving the camera, but the rest is pretty much perfect. There's no need to change it up. Did they think we wouldn't notice they copied Dark Souls if they just didn't map sprint to B? It's like they realized too late that they copied FromSoft's homework and they needed to change it a little bit before they shipped it. I spilled beefaroni on it, that should be good enough. And what's worse, Ubisoft can't even seem to copy their own homework. Every Ubisoft game is basically the same these days. Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Watch Dogs, they're all just stealth capture missions in an open world. So why are the controls in Star Wars Outlaws so ass backwards? This game borrows pretty much everything it has from other Ubisoft games, like the binoculars from Far Cry, which are usually mapped to up on the D-pad, but in Outlaws you have to hold left and press triangle, meaning not only do you have to take both your thumbs off the sticks in order to pull them out, but for me, I keep forgetting which side of the D-pad it is, and since the other side is mapped to whistle loud enough to alert the entire planet of your presence, it runs counter to the stealth game where you need to be stealthy and quiet and stealthy. And my god, why is clicking on the right stick used as the interact button? Even after several hours in this game, I still can't get used to that because of how asinine a choice it is. And speaking of controls, I'm sick of Nintendo and Sony packing so much useless tech into their controllers. DualSense controllers are like $100 in Canada, all because the dual analog sticks and trigger buttons are ergonomically designed to give you a greater sense of control, the dual vibration motors put you right in the game, and the capacitive touchpad gives you new ways to control your games. If that sounds worth it to you, then you should know that I read that from the DualShock 4 description. But hey, at least you can still use the DualShock 4 on the PS5. Unless you have the audacity to try and play a PS5 game with it. Come on, blind taste testers can't tell the difference between these two, but you're really gonna lock me out because I wanted to save $20? The worst part is, if you download the Remote Play app, connect a DualShock 4 to your phone, and use that to play PS5 games, surprise, surprise, it works perfectly fine! And since even PS5 exclusives are basically guaranteed to get a PC port eventually nowadays, I think developers are holding back a little bit when it comes to utilizing these controllers to their full potential. So what's your excuse? Did you know that the Joy-Cons have an IR sensor in them? Because I don't think Nintendo does. I'm not saying I want innovation to stop entirely when it comes to controllers. For sure, let's see what works. But if there's one request that I can make of a controller that costs $100, it's that it didn't fucking break after 30 minutes. So it's no secret that loading screens are annoying. The last thing anyone wants to do while playing a video game is sit and wait patiently. That's why devs have been doing whatever they can to try and hide them. Whether it's Ratchet & Clank showing a few canned animations of the ship flying through space, the infamous Mass Effect elevator, or Jak and Daxter tying your shoelaces together. Sure, the first time it seemed like a clever way to hide some loads, but after the 4th or 5th time I got real tired of it. And now just about every game wants to find some excuse to jam us into a crack. It's barely even necessary to hide loads anymore. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth loads like it's trying to jump scare you, but it'll still force you into a crevice just for fun. And while I'm bitching about modern games, why are they all so fucking dark? Lighting engines have made some incredible leaps and bounds, giving us these stunning scenes and breathtaking views, only for the game to send you down into some dark ass basement where you can't see shit. So you go into the settings and you pump up the brightness so you can actually see anything, and then you end up getting flashbacks when you go back outside. And listen, I get the appeal of AI. Finally, the billionaires of Silicon Valley have managed to democratize creativity. Now anyone can be a cool artiste without any of that bougie talent or discipline or years of practice and hard work.
Technology's incredible. I was even able to generate an image of myself if I didn't give a shit about AI. It's very accurate.
The thing is, even if you ignore AI's negative effects on the climate, the job market, privacy, its potential for abuse, its actual abuse, its socioeconomic biases, and the slim chance that it becomes self-aware and kills us all before we get a chance to do it first, it's also just not that good. I genuinely believe the fact that anyone can download Godot or Unity or whatever and start making a game is a net positive for the industry. So if I have to scroll past Hentai World every time I look at the eShop sales, that's a small price to pay.
We've all got to make some sacrifices for the indies.
Well, since modern games seem to be a bit of a hellscape, why don't I switch to retro gaming? Let me just hop on over to Electronic Bay, and you've gotta be fucking kidding me. It's a tough time to be into video game collecting. Ever since the plague a few years back, prices for a lot of games have absolutely skyrocketed. I guess there's something about a global catastrophe that just makes a guy really want to play Ogre Battle. Some of them were already pretty expensive to begin with. Back in the before times when I wasn't too serious about game collecting, I remember really wanting a copy of Chibi Robo on the GameCube but not wanting to pay $60 for it. Well, now don't I look like a fool? And don't even get me started on Pokemon. They made enough Pokemon cartridges to pave a highway and still have a few million left over, but there's still like $90. Part of that must be because Game Freak is just terrified of re-releasing them for some reason. They did give us the first 2 generations on the 3DS Virtual Console, but you can't even buy them there anymore. Coincidentally, those ones tend to be on the cheaper end. Then you look at Gen 3 and you have to start thinking about how much you really need to make that mortgage payment. It's not like it would take that much work to put them on the Switch, they're Game Boy games. You could emulate the Game Boy on a pair of shoes. When you're passionate about something, you want to see it reach the highest height possible so the flaws start to stand out. But at a certain point, you have to realize that good enough is good enough.
Oh, I can feel myself starting to give a fuck. I better take another hit of... Damn it, not again! And you can shove that thing up your ugly... Oh hey, don't mind me, I'm just trying to relax with a nice old-fashioned video game. Just look at how relaxed I am. My blood pressure's so low that it's actually wrapped back around to dangerously high. Maybe I should pick a different game. Call of Duty seems more my speed right now.
No one likes losing, so as time went on, it became clear that a new type of game needed to emerge to fill the gap between exciting, ultra-competitive action and watching paint dry. Enter the cozy game, games that encourage relaxation and creativity over violence and sharing your favorite slurs. Brainchild of Yasuhiro Wada, who grew up in the Japanese countryside before moving to the city to make games, the original Harvest Moon was a victim of the exact same kind of corporate bureaucracy that it was made to escape from. The game's original publisher, Pack-In Video, went bankrupt before the game was released and then merged with Victor Entertainment, who then slashed the budget and cut the team down to just 3 people. So the name Harvest Moon was actually created by the game's North American localization/publishing firm, Natsume Inc. The Japanese name is Bokujo Monogatari, or Farm Story. But through a series of mergers and acquisitions, the developer, Marvelous, was eventually able to acquire their own in-house localizer/publisher, Xseed Games. But Natsume still had the rights to the Harvest Moon name, and they weren't willing to give it up. Which meant that if Marvelous wanted to publish their games on their own, they weren't allowed to use the now highly recognizable name and brand that through their own efforts had become synonymous with the genre that they invented. So Marvelous and Natsume officially split, with Marvelous continuing to develop Bokujo Monogatari, now under the name Story of Seasons in the West, as well as some spin-off games like Rune Factory, and Natsume developing their own hollow cash grabs while wearing the rotting skin of Harvest Moon. The general premise of Animal Crossing is that you've just moved to a new town with no money and no belongings, and you have to pay off a home loan to a talking rodent. And instead of a day-night cycle, the game runs off of real time, which slows the pace down even more. If you're too early to do some shopping, take some time to catch some bugs, do some amateur archaeology, talk to your neighbors, whatever you want. And if that's a bit too slow for you, you could always put on your dirty fucking cheater hat and change the time on your console. And that's the beauty of Animal Crossing. You can play at your own pace, no matter what that is. There was definitely some novelty in taking the series to a handheld console so you could pull it out wherever you were though. Finally, after 8 years, we got a new mainline Animal Crossing game, New Horizons, and at a time where more than ever people needed an outlet to escape the stress of the world.
Man, Garfield's really fucked this time.
It was nice to see these slower, more relaxing games move from their niche corners into the mainstream, and it opened up gaming to a much wider audience, i.e. women. Now, you don't have to be a woman to enjoy a good cozy game, just like you don't have to be a man to enjoy a good murder simulator. But just try telling that to the marketing departments in charge of advertising these things. Unfortunately, those communities aren't immune to developing their own brand of toxicity. At least the watching paint dry community always has a positive attitude.
These graphics are incredible!
And then there's the incessant advertising of the cozy aesthetic across social media. With cozy gaming becoming a full-on trend, you have all kinds of people trying to make money off of it by hawking their dropship blankets and fake plants and junk on TikTok or whatever.
Did I need it? No. Do you need it? Probably not.
I mean, how do you expect to pay off that capitalist capybara without at least a dozen cat paw print thumbstick covers? If you look close enough, there's a bit of irony in such a lucrative merchandising trend emerging from a game all about rejecting capitalism in favor of sustainable community living. But I can't talk about that right now, I'm too busy buying this $12 enamel pin of my grandpa dying. Oh well, this game has a cute art style, but it has too much combat to be considered cozy, and this game doesn't have any combat, but it isn't cute enough, and you know what? Who f***ing cares? You know what makes a game cozy? If playing it makes you feel good. Some people relax by playing Animal Crossing, some people relax by doing no-hit runs of Elden Ring. Yeah, that's right, psychos are people too. As for me, my favorite game just got a new expansion, and I can't wait to check it out.
Oh, no fucking way. Oh, hey. Don't mind me, I'm just tuning in for an exclusive preview of the next Connor's Game Room episode. I can't wait to see what they cook up next. Shh, it's starting. Peanut butter? That was genius! I'm so glad I paid $40 for that.
Advertisers are constantly trying to one-up each other to make sure you're spending as much time as possible thinking about and talking about and pre-ordering their game. And they have all kinds of techniques that they use to occupy space in your mind. There's the classic throwing up a countdown on a shady-looking website, to purposefully generating controversy in the media, to live tweeting a fake terrorist attack in Singapore? What the fuck? Imagine the emotional whiplash at hearing the terrorist attack you just heard about was fake, only to then find out there's a new Call of Duty coming out.
No!
But there's one type of marketing stunt that stands out for its ability to elicit particularly mixed feelings.
I've never been this excited to be pissed.
This never came out in North America, so everything I know about it is basically limited to what I could find in this one Eurogamer article that's old enough to vote. It took so long that they changed the box art design for the PS3 by the time it came out. God, that annoys me more than it should. Now, I've never played Gran Turismo. I like racing games, but I usually stay away from the more realistic driving sim games in favor of the ones that are more arcadey and, you know, fun.
Well, for my first time playing Gran Turismo, that was pretty good. It got a little grindy at some times, but overall there's a pretty good skill curve as you move up to A-Class. I think it's a pretty good preview for $25. Oh, hang on. 2008's calling. Hello? Gran Turismo 5 Prologue is $40? What's wrong with my shoes?
Yeah, $40 seems like a lot for such a limited preview, especially considering there were much more important things to be spending money on in 2008. I mean, Wizard 101 had just come out, and when they announced it, they pretended it was an indie game from a made-up Swedish studio that was completely unrelated to Metal Gear. This was done to gauge public reactions to Konami's new Fox engine without any kind of bias from Metal Gear fans, and it didn't work at all. They clocked it immediately. With Ground Zeroes though, all you had was a single story mission in a single map, and once you finished that, why don't you do it 4 more times?
Oh, I get it. Once for each number before 5. Kojima, you son of a bitch.
After this whole fiasco, it was clear that Konami learned their lesson and proceeded to more carefully evaluate the pricing of their future releases. Just kidding, they fired series creator Hideo Kojima, gave up on video games to focus on pachinko machines, then gave up on that to make games again, and released Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, which was more expensive and had less content than the Legacy Collection that came out on the PS3 in 2012.
Honestly, that's impressive. I think the only way they could have fucked up more is if they said something like mobile gaming is the future.
Yeah, if you compare the two, 1.5 plus 2.5 has 4 full games and remastered cutscenes from 2 more games, while Final Chapter Prologue has remastered cutscenes from a delisted mobile game, a demo of Kingdom Hearts 3, and a remaster of the 3DS game where arguably the story completely jumped the shark.
Yeah, the one where those 2 kids turned themselves into a sword by fighting each other I could get behind, but this was too far.
Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, A Fragmentary Passage, also known as the game with the title that's almost as long as the game. This is a roughly 2-hour-long romp that picks up at the end of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep and leads right up to the start of Kingdom Hearts 3, somehow skipping the 6 games that happened in between. So the game follows Aqua, who after Birth by Sleep was lost in the realm of darkness, and she was kinda depressed because her friend turned evil and also into an animated suit of armor and lost his memories. The evil version of him lost his memories, the suit of armor still had them. Oh, and he also turned into a big monster, but we didn't really know that was him yet, though a few people kinda suspected he was, and her other friend, he's the one who turned into a sword. Anyway, he got better, but he also went into a coma, so not that much better.
Blink if you're still with me.
Throughout the game, you get to see Aqua confront some of her inner demons, some actual demons, and then you get an alternate perspective of the first game's ending, which is pretty cool. With a prequel like this, I like seeing them add more context to the events of the other games to change your perspective a bit when you replay them. Oh, so that's why Mickey wasn't wearing a shirt. And let's see, what else is there? You can give Aqua cat ears. Where the hell was this in the full game? It was nice to see some amount of hope that an actual release was coming for KH3, and to see that after about 10 years of spreading out across every handheld console you could possibly fit in your pants, the entire series was now available on one platform with only a few asterisks. But it still stung to see 2.8 priced so high compared to the last collection. And it'll barely even fit in your pants anymore. Even at the time, through the new game hype haze, it did feel a little less like these companies were graciously granting us a sneak peek of their next big opus, and more like they were using their most dedicated fans to open up a new revenue stream. These days, with 5-year plus development cycles becoming the norm, it seems like publishers are a bit more careful about when they announce a game to make sure it'll be ready in a reasonable amount of time. Unless your name is Square Enix, then you'll release a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4 and not say a damn thing about it for 3 years.
And I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at managing my hype, so I'm less likely to fall for a scam like this.
New from the makers of Beans is the long-awaited sequel Beans 2. Now with more fiber, more protein, and more beans. You've never seen this many beans in one place before. Prepare your asshole, as Beans 2 will explode your colon.
Hi, I'm definitely not Hideo Kojima from Huckleberry Finn Studios. We hope you understand that while we're excited to bring you Beans 2, we've unfortunately had to delay release to 2035. However, we're happy to announce the Beans 2 Ground Zeroes 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue Experience and Knuckles. Available now for $39.99.
Damn it! What is up, y'all? Don't mind me, it's just your boy, 420 Man XX, back at it with another gameplay guide. Today we're going to be learning how to do a triple jump in Super Mario 64, so without further ado, let's get into it. But first, don't forget to smash that like button, crash that notification bell, and molest that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get into it. But first, a word from today's sponsor, Wells Fargo.
In the early days of gaming, it wasn't uncommon for games to simply drop you straight into the thick of it without any kind of tutorial or anything. Instead, you were expected to have read through the manual. Most games at the time were pretty simple, so a quick skim of the manual would usually get you a good enough idea of the controls to get you started. There were a couple problems though. First is that these games came in cardboard boxes that were usually thrown out, and as such, the flimsy paper manual was usually either lost or destroyed. These days, that means unless you're willing to pay out the ass for complete in-box copies of 30 to 40-year-old games, you'll have to rely on archival sites, or figure it out yourself.
What do I do?
It's important to start small with a tutorial. When making a game, developers have to bear in mind that some of their players may have never played a video game before. If you have, you might roll your eyes at being told that you can use the left stick to move, but I work in the tech support industry where it isn't necessarily guaranteed that your audience knows which side of the keyboard has the buttons on it, so I know the value of stating the obvious. Front-loading too much into the very beginning of the game might give you a bit of information overload, and then you start forgetting stuff. That's when you'll have to hope that the game saves tutorials to be read later somewhere, or worse, try your luck with YouTube tutorials.
What is up, y'all? 420 Man back at it again with another gameplay guide to Doki Doki Literature Club. Don't forget to subscribe to my Patreon, visit my merch store, and pre-order my book, Ruminations on the Metaphysical Boundary Between Quantum Space and the Unknown. New York Times, bitch!
You'll spend all this time learning all the mechanics, taking notes, really studying up, and getting ready to put it all to the test, only for the game to end before you even get a chance. Imagine if instead they just dumped a new power on you right in the middle of a boss fight and didn't give you any time to figure it out. You don't have to, Infamous Second Son already did that. So the next time you're starting a new game, take a minute to appreciate it for teaching you the ropes, before you forget everything it told you and go back to the YouTube tutorials.
So that's how you spell boobies in the calculator app. Thanks for watching, everyone, and if you like this video, be sure to check out this one where I debate the merits of Nietzschean philosophy, and this one where I do a sick-ass keg stand. Shh, don't mind me, I'm just on the hunt for a rare species, the PAL exclusive. I've tracked one all the way out here to the Birmingham Zoo, and I'm not letting it get away.
We're close.
There it is!
Damn it, son of a bitch!
It doesn't even work in my Wii.
We live in a world divided. Divided by oceans, by borders, by religion, and by our ability to play 10,000 bullets on the PS2.
Those sons of bitches have had it too good for too long.
Region locking, making sure that your product or service can only be used in a specific region. It happens with everything. Movies, websites, phones, even printers are region locked.
Ay caramba.
The NES was the first game console to introduce region locking and went as far as to not only include a lockout chip that would prevent other regions' games from running, but they also completely redesigned the console for the worldwide release so you couldn't physically fit Japanese games into an international console or vice versa. Geez, North America, are you compensating for something? Moving over to the competition, the Sega Master System was a direct competitor to the NES and Sega's first console to release outside of Japan.
I'm the Miracle Ball.
I wonder why no one gives a shit about this one. The Master System did have another slot for Sega cards, much smaller cartridges which were identical in all regions. Removing the BIOS chip would allow you to play these regardless of which region they were from, giving you unrestricted access to a whopping library of 40 mostly shit games. Great. Moving up a generation, Sega's Mega Drive and Genesis cartridges had identical pinouts in all regions, and you might think that would mean region compatibility was pretty simple. It says here you're a dumbass. Japanese cartridges also had a little slot, which a plastic tab in the console would slide into when the power switch was turned on, meaning that if you stuck a North American card into a Japanese console, you wouldn't even be able to turn the power on. That would have been easy enough to bypass with a few modifications, but then Sega went and revised the console design in 1991 to add in their Trademark Security System, or TMSS. If that wasn't complicated enough, EA, the pride and accomplishment guys, threw another wrench into the soup of software compatibility and trademark licensing. This metaphor is getting out of hand. So EA, the guys who killed Westwood Studios, tried to negotiate a better licensing deal, but Sega refused to budge, and at one point dared them to just reverse engineer the Genesis and make their own cartridges if they wanted a better deal. So EA called their bluff and figured out how to manufacture their own Genesis carts, which is why EA games on the Genesis are bigger and have this gross yellow tab. Once the mad bastards at EA actually went and did it, Sega caved and cut a licensing deal with them at the last second before the release of their first Genesis game, Populous. And then EA, the guys who made Boom Blocks, they didn't bother to update the ROM for Populous before it was released in North America, so it just straight up didn't work in any Genesis made after 1991. Damn it! This was officially licensed by Sega, so it would meet the TMSS requirements, and it stuck out of the console enough that the shape of the cartridge didn't matter, making it a quick, easy solution to region locking on the Genesis. Well, what do you know? Weirdly though, Europe used the same console and cart design as Japan this time around, so if you get mugged by a North American Super Nintendo, it'll be real easy to pick it out of a lineup. With the N64, Nintendo finally started using the same console and cart design across all regions. The European console had a lockout chip to lock it to European games only, once again just because of that pesky PAL format, but the Japanese and North American consoles just had these little plastic tabs in the cartridge slots that would line up with slots in the cartridge itself, which were in different places in each region, so there's a real easy way to bypass that. Yeah, it turns out it's a bit more delicate than that. With some careful application of high-powered rotary tools, you can pretty easily remove the tabs from the cartridge tray, letting you put whatever you want in there. I filled mine with chickpeas. With Japanese games, the language barrier would usually be enough to stop most people from bothering with importing, seeing as most Japanese games are in French or something, I don't know. It didn't stop everyone though, especially back in the days where the average story in a video game amounted to go right. Importing was especially popular in Europe though. It wasn't uncommon for games to launch months or even years later in Europe compared to North America. So if the game you're looking for is already available across the Atlantic and in a language that you most likely understand and could be played on your console with just some minor modifications, why not ship it across the pond? The only real downside was that running NTSC games on PAL TVs often caused some visual issues and slowdown, but a lot of games weren't ported properly to PAL in the first place, so these same issues were present in the official European releases anyway. And ironically, on PC, the one platform that was traditionally always region-free, Steam has various reasons for enforcing region locks. Most of those reasons relate to compliance with local laws, but occasionally a publisher will throw out a nonsensical curveball, like Sony forcing PC users to sign up for a PlayStation Network account to play Helldivers 2, meaning they had to delist it in the roughly 177 countries where PSN isn't available. Considering this came up after they spent 3 months selling it in those regions anyway, even though they knew they were planning to make it unplayable for them, it was extra clear how unnecessary this kind of restriction was. These days, the region exclusive is mostly just a fun footnote in gaming history to lock up in a cage and ogle at. Uh-oh.
Good evening, I'm Ted Bundy, no relation, with a breaking news report. An illegally imported copy of Wii Chess has escaped into the local ecosystem and is now wreaking havoc. In the absence of natural predators, Wii Chess's reproduction rate has spiraled out of control, and now roving packs of juvenile wee chests have been spotted, exhausting food supplies for local fauna, destroying federally protected wetlands, and shoplifting from small businesses. If you have any information about who may be irresponsible, malicious, or possibly just outright dumb enough to release such a dangerous invasive species, please let them know that they are wanted for environmental terrorism.
Hey, get the hell out of here! Go, get! Merry damn Christmas. I know it's only October, but after last year where I almost got murdered, I decided, no more Halloween episodes. As of right now, I'm on a 3-month Christmas binge. The only thing I have to be horrified about is the shelf life of eggnog. I'm sure that's nothing. So don't mind me, I'll be boycotting the ghouls and or goblins this year in favor of Yuletide blessings and patented video game mechanics. Oh yeah, that's right.
The patent system, a legal framework giving you the power to stop anyone from copying your invention, in exchange for publishing an instruction manual on how to copy your invention. Thank God, now I have a guide on what not to do. I'm tired of waking up only to find that I accidentally made a Nintendo Switch in my sleep again.
Damn it!
Did you know that Pokeballs are patented?
Well, I'm just holding this for a friend.
A game performing method for executing a game by arranging a plurality of objects comprising a plurality of objects to be stuck in an operation object in a virtual space, controlling rolling and movement of the operation object according to the player's input. Geez, I wonder why they didn't put that on the box. Katamari, the world's only legally enforceable monopoly on rolling stuff up into a ball games. Oh hey, look at that. Combos are incredibly important to people who don't play fighting games by just throwing their controller into a blender, and having a system in-game to teach you how to pull them off can be incredibly valuable. It makes it much easier and even downright satisfying to learn all those complicated combos, but the patent meant that until 2020, no other fighting game was allowed to implement a similar system, so you had to stick to the good old-fashioned book learning. The crux of Microsoft's achievement patent is the gamer score, a number of points awarded for each achievement that get added to a total which can then be added to your Tinder bio. In an era where people were abandoning cable in favor of Netflix faster than ever, Microsoft went ahead and put an HDMI input on the Xbox One so you could watch TV on your Xbox One, which was connected to your TV anyway. What was the point of this? Well, at least you could use it for sacrilege if you wanted. Look at me, I'm playing a Wii U on an Xbox One. God has no power here. They even wanted to use the Kinect to award achievements for actually watching an ad instead of looking away or leaving the room, or even give out rewards in a game for holding up a specific product. Imagine if you could earn V-Bucks by flashing a bottle of Bix Baby Dills at your TV, and that's the future Microsoft wanted. This patent was quickly abandoned, probably after Microsoft saw the overwhelmingly negative response to the Xbox One's TV integration and realized that, hey, maybe spying on our users with a camera that we forced them to put in their living room if they wanted to play ReCore is actually a bad idea.
Well, better late than never, I guess. Hey, this is a strict no haunting zone.
Like EA and BioWare filing a patent for the dialogue wheels used in Mass Effect and Dragon Age. I mean, really? Is that really an innovation worth going that far to protect? Sure, it's a little easier to look at than a big old dialogue box, but are you really gonna boost sales by putting rectangles on the box? This was probably just an attempt to squash competition in the RPG market, but it's not like BioWare could patent RPGs with in-depth character development and dynamic stories, so they had to find something else unique about their games to lock down.
I got it! Circles!
The Simpsons Road Rage, the game that makes everyone say, I thought it was called Hit and Run. Apocryphal knowledge across the internet maintains that despite basically being a one-to-one copy of Crazy Taxi, the main patent being infringed on was the arrow hovering over your car pointing at your destination. But there is a bit more to it than that. Sega wanted Crazy Taxi to be in an open city filled with pedestrians, but to put it in their own words, in a case that the free drive in the town is enabled, the game players might collide with people in the virtual space, but images of hitting people must be avoided because recently it is strongly required to avoid cruel game images. Or, in English, Sega didn't want Grandma to see little Timmy commit vehicular manslaughter. Allowing patents to be issued for piddly bullshit like a dialogue wheel isn't protecting anyone. It's just clogging up the court system with dumbass arguments about whether or not you're being different enough.
No, Your Honor, you see, this is a conversation rhombus.
The Nemesis system always comes up whenever anyone talks about video game patents. It's a really cool mechanic where any random cannon fodder enemy could get in a lucky hit and take you down, and then rise up the ranks of the orc army and become more and more powerful. Imagine what else could be done with this, like a racing game where your rivals get better and better cars as they win their own races. Or maybe a game where you play as the villain in a slasher movie, and if you let any of the plucky teenagers get away, they'll come back with a whole mob you have to fight off. Or maybe... Oh yeah, we'd like to make a new game, but EA has a patent on characters who wear shoes, and Sega has a trademark on playing games on a Tuesday, and Nintendo.
Oh yeah, Nintendo.
What the fuck is your game, buddy? Nintendo's been on a warpath against Pocket Pair, the makers of Pal World, hitting them with lawsuits over their patents for the Pokemon series that were granted after Pal World came out, all because of some fucking loophole where they're all based on some old patent from 2021 or something. I don't know, who could figure any of this shit out? It's not like Pal World is even the first game to parody Pokemon. Why does Nintendo have such a huge hate boner for this game in particular? Is it because a couple people implied that Pal World could possibly be an appropriate substitute for Pokemon? That squirrel has a fucking gun. No one seriously believed an overly edgy, early access survival game in the Unreal Engine by an indie studio had the potential to dethrone the single biggest media franchise ever. They were just talking shit to get views on their stupid articles and their YouTube videos, and now suddenly Nintendo has a patent on throwing balls to summon creatures. Well, good thing I only use mine to summon barbecue sauce. Come on, how the hell is that allowed? Does that mean I can file a patent for games that run like ass and then sue Nintendo for putting out Pokemon Scarlet and Violet?
They're just taking this system that's supposed to protect innovation and using it to serve their own purposes, twisting the law to serve their own needs, suppressing anybody who dares come close to encroaching on their market share. That's like putting out fire with gasoline and pretending it's water. It's like making a sandwich with a big steamy turd and pretending it's peanut butter. It's like putting up mistletoe at Halloween and pretending it's Christmas. It's you, isn't it? The one who's been doing all this.
Yeah, it's me, the ghost of Halloween future.
We're doing Dickens again.
Hey, don't knock the classics.
Since 2009, Sony's been sitting on a patent for interactive ads that wouldn't end until you shout out the name of the brand being advertised. This is pretty similar to Microsoft's abandoned patent, but this one is actually still active and has noticeably never been used, and since Sony owns the patent, can't be used by anyone until it expires. Considering that advertisers pride themselves on constantly finding new and innovative ways to be as annoying as possible, I appreciate that Sony's locked this one down for so long. Though whether they did it out of the goodness of their hearts or if they just realized after filing the patent that it was a fucking dumb, stupid fucking idea, we'll probably never know.
I get it now. I can't fear Halloween just because of one bad experience. The holiday itself isn't good or evil, it's what you make of it. Just like how whether the patent system is good or evil depends on how you use it. That's why you made me talk about it.
Oh, I didn't do that. I was going to say that's a weird thing to do at a Christmas party.
What? Then why are you here?
I've come to warn you about some kind of imminent danger in your future.
What kind of danger?
Well, I don't know. The other ghosts were supposed to tell you.
Oops.
It won't be long now. Very soon I'll have my revenge.
Right, that's enough of that.
Great, I'll see you then. Oh hey, don't mind me, I just got this reservation at this swanky new restaurant. Achetez-le, crétin. It's the hottest new thing. They give you early access to your food before they finish making it. They say it lets you really savor the anticipation of how savory the flavor's gonna be. I can't wait to try it. Now, this looks like it's gonna look so good once they finish making it.
Video games take a ton of time and money to make. You can't exactly just will one into existence. Regardless of whether you're funding an indie project from your own pocket because you truly believe in it, or you have a publisher bankrolling you while breathing down your neck looking for an ROI, the money issue is going to be rough. But hey, maybe you have a playable prototype already. What if you just slapped a price tag on that and started selling it to fund the rest of the game? Enter early access, one of the few acceptable methods of selling unfinished merchandise. Yeah, that's right, before Minecraft became the best-selling video game of all time and scored all those huge merch and Jack Black movie deals, it was just a simple game made by a small team in Sweden. The first paid alpha version went on sale in June 2009 and quickly started dominating the market and conversations at your local middle school. Because of how freeform the gameplay in Minecraft is, YouTubers could milk the shit out of it.
What is up, y'all? 420 Pussy Man back at it with episode 213 of my Minecraft Let's Play. I did a little bit of mining off camera, and today we're going to the Nether. Remember to like and subscribe because I post new episodes every 6 minutes and you're not going to want to miss out.
Oh yes, crowdfunding, the other leg of the early access pants.
I gotta get some better metaphors.
Before crowdfunding was mostly used to subsidize the broken healthcare system, it was used to subsidize the broken video game publishing industry. It's like investing, except you don't get any kind of return on that investment other than a copy of the game once it's finished. So it's actually less like investing and more like pre-ordering, except you don't get any kind of guarantee that the game's actually going to come out. So it's not so much like pre-ordering and more like swallowing your money and hoping that eventually a game comes out the other end. You don't have to go the crowdfunding route to go early access, but the two tend to go hand in hand. If your game is crowdfunded, it's a good idea to be as transparent as possible about the development process so you don't piss off the people who made the whole thing possible. And letting those people actually play the game as you're making it is about as transparent as you can get. Plus, it can be fun to play a game and see how it changes through consistent updates, like a live service game if it were honest about not being finished. No, you can't make your point-and-click adventure or your quirky turn-based RPG or your 3D collectathon platformer. You need to make a gritty first-person shooter because Call of Duty sells 1 million copies every time I sneeze. At the time, this was getting a lot of attention as the biggest Kickstarter success story to date, and ironically at around the same time, Double Fine was also working on one of the biggest early access blunders to date. And eventually both games found themselves in a similar position.
We're broke!
Predictably, those who bought the game in early access expecting a fully featured space colony sim were pissed. But once all 7 of them moved on, Space Base DF9 became the first lesson in the now widely understood downsides of early access. It didn't take long for the magic to wear off. With all the abandonware and the games that got funded but never actually materialized, crowdfunding in early access just started to feel like a scam. Maybe because there were a bunch of scams too.
God, this peanut butter tastes like manure!
For the projects that were actually released, a lot of them were huge success stories, sure, but for every Shovel Knight there's a Mighty Number 9, for every Hat in Time there's a ukulele. But hey, I guess even the failures deserve some credit for making it to the end. I mean, say what you will about the Ouya, it exists.
Take that, Chupacabra!
After the excitement from average people getting involved at the ground floor of game and product development wore off, suddenly you're faced with the reality. Not every cool idea can be successful. Sometimes an idea that sounds good on paper just doesn't work out once it takes on a tangible form. Sure, a $100 console that could be easily modded and could double as a dev kit sounds cool in theory, but could it suck the blood out of a goat? Back when Fortnite came out in early access, it was a cooperative tower defense survival game, but then out of nowhere they added in a battle royale mode that they made as a side project, after PUBG popularized the genre. This immediately became way more popular, leading to the PvE mode getting totally abandoned by both players and the developers. Bad luck for anyone who bought into early access expecting a tower defense game, but who would have been dumb enough to do that? Oh.
I knew there was a reason I was wearing this.
But there was an annoying trend for a while of AAA devs just barely offering early access as a pre-order bonus. Oh yeah, our game comes out November 6th, but if you pre-order it, you get to play it on November 3rd. So it comes out November 3rd. Star Citizen is a space sim / space combat / space everything game from Chris Roberts, creator of the Wing Commander series. It managed to pull in about $2 million in funding from Kickstarter and another $20 million from its own website. It was announced in 2012 and was supposed to come out in 2014. To see how that went, let's take a look at the That Didn't Happen-o-meter.
I think it's broken.
And by now, there's probably more than enough for Star Citizen to be considered more game than tech demo, with space and on-the-ground combat combined into a persistent multiplayer universe, but Mr. Roberts still doesn't consider it to be finished, which is why he's funding further development by selling in-game ships for anywhere between $20 and $1,000. Because it turns out funding game development is easy.
Pay up, fucker.
As for crowdfunding, I guess you'll have to use your own judgment. Consider the proposed scope of the game and the credentials of the people making it before grabbing the credit card. But even then, you could have the creator of Mega Man dropping a mediocre dump like Mighty No. 9, or you could have the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants Lights Camera Pants drop a huge critical success like Shovel Knight.
Yeah, I guess just flip a coin or something. Oh hey, don't mind me, I'm just about to crack the code and prove definitively once and for all that this entire reality is just a simulation. That's right, all of your thoughts and feelings, all the highs and lows of everybody here on Starship Earth, it's all just ones and zeros in the computer of some higher being. But I'm gonna break out. I've triple checked my calculations and I believe that I found the weakest point in the simulation. Should be right about here. Oh, so that's what that was. I thought I spilled relish or something. Whoa, so this is reality. Real reality. Jeez, this kind of sucks.
Ever since humanity developed consciousness and started to recognize the universe around them, they've asked themselves the same questions. Where did it all come from? What's my purpose in all of this? And most importantly, can I make my own littler guy and watch him pay taxes? Look at him, he's struggling. And then there's the Oregon Trail, another educational simulation game beloved by 8th graders across the US. As a Canadian, I never got to experience this one back in the day, but I'd heard about how brutal it could be. But now, as an adult, look at that, made it on the first try. No, don't look at that. Sim City, the game that put the fun into balancing the budget for the municipal government? That doesn't sound like fun.
Well, there's gotta be room somewhere.
Wright had approached the publishers of Bungling Bay, Broderbund, as well as several others, but none of them expected a game without a well-defined end goal to sell, so they all turned him down. Eventually, Broderbund agreed to a limited release on the Commodore 64, but that wasn't enough for Wright, so he created his own publisher, Maxis, to push SimCity on the masses, and it ended up becoming one of the best-selling PC games of all time, spawning multiple versions, including a Super Nintendo port and several sequels and spin-offs. I wonder how Broderbund is doing nowadays.
So, let me get this straight. This isn't reality, it's just a deeper level of the simulation. And you're all different versions of me from different simulated timelines. You're from the timeline where I'm Scottish. Oh, you got it, lad. You're from the timeline where I have long hair. In my timeline, everyone else has really short hair. And which timeline are you from again? Oh, I just spilled relish on the floor and ended up here. Alright, so what are we gonna do? About what? Well, we gotta find a way back to our own timelines. There isn't any way back, laddie. You better get comfortable.
Will Wright and Maxis went on to make a sequel, SimCity 2000, as well as several spin-offs such as Sim Farm, Sim Town, Streets of SimCity, and SimCopter, which would let you import maps from SimCity 2000, and Sim Ant, which was about ants. After finishing up SimCity 3000, Wright went to work on another secret project. Once again feeling inspired after delving into technical manuals for fields he wasn't involved in, he created The Sims. The Sims was yet another sandbox game, but instead of an entire city, you'd build a house and watch over a single family as they go about their lives. Wright liked it because it helped him work through the stress of rebuilding his home after a fire, EA liked it because they could make a fuck ton of money selling expansion packs, and the fans loved it because they could make all their little guys kiss. All was good. As time went on though, EA's management of Maxis was proving once and for all that they weren't so much the benevolent masters Wright thought they were, and instead were very much the guys who did that to Dungeon Keeper. Myers' publisher Microprose was skeptical about the hard pivot from aerial combat to Elizabethan-era naval warfare, so at the suggestion of Robin Williams of all people, they slapped Sid's name on the box, hoping to get some name recognition. And apparently it worked. Sid Meier's Pirates sold way better than any of Microprose's prior flight sims, and ironically led to Sid Meier, the shy nerd who just wanted to code games and thought a game about managing railroads would be fun, becoming the face of the company. He was right about the train thing too. Sid Meier's Railroad Tycoon fucked. There was a whole host of tycoon games coming out in the 90s and 2000s in its wake, but they really picked up after Scottish game dev Chris Sawyer took a stab at the genre with Transport Tycoon, also published by Microprose.
Back in my timeline, we present him with the Great Scott Award for that, along with William Harkness, William McDougall III, and William Wallace.
Hey, one of those was a Simpsons character.
Which one?
I don't know.
Roller Coaster Tycoon was what really cemented the tycoon genre as a full-on industry trend. Even though games like Pirates and Railroad Tycoon were surprisingly fun, they still mostly only appealed to an older audience, whereas Roller Coaster Tycoon was about fucking roller coasters. Of course little Timmy was all over it. Roller Coaster Tycoon was a huge hit and got multiple sequels and of course kept the flood of business sim games coming. Mall Tycoon, Airport Tycoon, Fast Food Tycoon, Casino Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, Trailer Park Tycoon, Deep Sea Tycoon, Mall Tycoon 2. Yeah, the market was so flooded with these, they started giving them away in cereal boxes.
No, you see, they don't use real stomachs anymore. It's a synthetic membrane.
Well, it still sounds really gross.
I don't know. It took me forever to find the weakest point in my timeline. Are you sure you can do it all over again?
I already found it. It's right there. So that's what that was.
I thought he spilled relish again.
Glasgow, haggis, gilts, bagpipes, Highland.
Right, so how do we get out of here? Oh, I wrote it down on my whiteboard. Let me just go grab. Anyone want a thumb wrestle?
The modern simulator game is generally made by slapping together a bunch of store-bought Unity engine assets, pissing an AI-generated cover image on it, and pumping it out into early access. That might seem harsh, but I mean, come on, look at this shit. Unlike the business management sims of the 2000s, Farming Simulator eschewed the top-down, omniscient overseer style of gameplay in favor of making you personally put on your galoshes and get your hands dirty. Once the YouTube Let's Play market got a hold of Farming Simulator, it started to catch on in the rest of the world as well. And that of course led to another flood of similar games coming out and trying to recreate that breakout viral success. There was Surgeon Simulator, Car Mechanic Simulator, Bus Simulator, Lawn Mowing Simulator, Yandere Simulator, Goat Simulator, Let's Play Simulator. These are starting to get a little bit esoteric. But for each Euro Truck Simulator, there are about 100 that were just actual jokes, or what I like to call Let's Play bait. Games that tried to recreate the breakout success of Farming Simulator by weaseling their way onto the big Let's Play channels in the hope of becoming the next big YouTube trend. And these days, when they do, you end up with a couple hundred copycats also flooding stores, and half the time they all end up looking identical since they're all mostly made with store-bought assets encoded by ChatGPT. So honestly, what's the difference between Supermarket Simulator and Supermarket Owner Simulator and Supermarket Simulator 2026? And all that said, even though a lot of these games could be considered low-effort cash grabs, they do tend to scratch a certain itch. Once you sort through the slop, I'd argue that simulation games are in a bit of a second golden age right now, and if I ever found myself stranded in a dark, empty, alternate dimension, I'd be glad to have a game like House Flipper to pass the time with.
Have you got any twos?
Go fish. But wait, if you do that, what will happen to us, right now? I mean, if our simulated universes start over, sure, we'll all go through the exact same experiences, but will we really be the same people? And what about everything we've gone through here together? It'll be like none of us ever met. Are you really okay with just erasing all of that?
I'm alright with that.
Yeah, me too, actually. I'm just like, nothing against usually more of a question, but as long as we go away, I guess it's all guys or something. I gotta go watch this here, and stuff like that. So, you know, the EU summit.
Great, so it's settled. See you suckers never.
This freak. Wow,
Turismo 5 Prologue is $40.
Son of a bitch!
I've triple checked my calculations and I believe that I found the weakest point in the simulation. Should be right about here. Oh, well, that's a bummer. I'm getting a hot dog.